Imagine waking up one morning and everything feels normal, just like any other day. You check your phone, scroll through social media, maybe plan your day. But then, something feels off. Fuel prices have suddenly doubled. Flights are being cancelled across continents. News alerts are exploding with one message repeated over and over again: war is escalating. Not just any war, but a dangerous and complex conflict involving Iran, the United States, and Israel. A conflict so intense that experts are quietly asking a terrifying question: could this be the beginning of something much bigger? To understand what is happening now, we have to go back. Because wars like this don't just start in a day. They build slowly, like pressure inside a sealed container, until one moment changes everything. Tensions between Iran, the United States, and Israel have existed for years. Political disagreements, military rivalries, nuclear fears, and regional influence all created a fragile situation. But in early 2026, that fragile situation finally broke. Coordinated strikes were launched on key Iranian targets. These were not small warnings. They were direct hits on military positions, strategic facilities, and command structures. And in that moment, the conflict crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. Iran responded almost immediately. Missiles were launched. Drones filled the skies. Military bases in strategic locations across the region became targets. What started as a strike quickly turned into a cycle of retaliation. One attack leading to another. And then another. This is how wars grow, not in a straight line, but in a chain reaction where every move creates a bigger response. But what makes this conflict especially dangerous is not just the fighting itself. It's where it is happening. At the center of this crisis lies one of the most important locations on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. It may look like just a narrow stretch of water on a map, but it controls a massive portion of the world's oil supply. Every single day, a huge percentage of global oil passes through this one route. When Iran threatened to block it, the entire world paid attention. Because even a partial disruption there can send shockwaves across global markets. And that's exactly what happened. Oil tankers slowed down. Some stopped completely. Shipping companies became cautious. Insurance costs for transport skyrocketed. The flow of oil, which powers economies in daily life, was suddenly uncertain. And when oil becomes uncertain, everything becomes uncertain. Prices began to rise. Slowly at first, then rapidly. From transportation to food, from electricity to basic goods, the cost of living started climbing. But beyond economics, there is a human cost that often gets lost in the numbers. Behind every headline about missiles and strategy are real people. Families caught in the middle of conflict. Cities where normal life has been replaced with fear and uncertainty. Reports indicate that thousands of lives have already been affected. Many have lost their lives. Many more have been injured. Entire communities have been displaced, forced to leave their homes in search of safety. Children who should be in school are instead growing up surrounded by the sounds of explosions and sirens. This is the reality of war that statistics cannot fully capture. As the conflict continues, it is no longer limited to just Iran, the United States, and Israel. The situation is spreading across the region. Countries in the Middle East are feeling the pressure. Some have faced direct attacks on their territory or infrastructure. Others are being pulled in through alliances and political ties. This is how regional wars expand. One country becomes involved, then another, and soon the situation becomes far more complex than anyone initially expected. Energy infrastructure has become one of the main targets in this conflict. Facilities that produce and process oil and gas are now seen as strategic points of attack. When these facilities are hit, the impact is not just local. It affects the global supply of energy. And energy is the backbone of modern life. Without it, industries slow down, transportation becomes difficult, and daily life becomes more expensive and unstable. When major energy sites are damaged, the effects are felt across continents, including places far from the conflict itself. This brings us to something that affects nearly everyone watching this: fuel prices. Since the escalation of the conflict, oil prices have surged significantly. And when oil prices rise, it creates a ripple effect. Transportation costs increase, which then affects the price of goods. Food becomes more expensive because it costs more to transport it. Businesses raise prices to keep up with expenses. In countries like Nigeria, where fuel prices already play a major role in daily life, this impact can be especially noticeable. What happens thousands of kilometers away suddenly becomes a part of your everyday reality. Beyond fuel, the global economy itself is under pressure. Markets react quickly to uncertainty, and war creates a lot of uncertainty. Investors become cautious. Trade slows down. Countries begin to rethink their strategies. Airlines avoid certain routes, increasing travel time and cost. Shipping companies look for safer paths, delaying deliveries. These may seem like small changes individually, but together they create a significant slowdown in global activity. One of the biggest concerns right now is the possibility of more countries becoming directly involved. Some nations are already supporting one side or another, either openly or behind the scenes. One of the biggest concerns right now is the possibility of more countries becoming directly involved. Some nations are already supporting one side or another, either openly or behind the scenes. Others are preparing for the possibility that they may be drawn into the conflict. Alliances play a major role here. When one country is attacked, its allies may feel obligated to respond. This is how conflicts grow beyond their original boundaries. History has shown us that large-scale wars often begin with smaller conflicts that gradually expand. And this is what makes the current situation so serious. The risk is not just about what is happening now, but about what could happen next. There are several possible paths forward. One possibility is that diplomatic efforts succeed and tensions begin to ease. This would require negotiations, compromises, and a willingness from all sides to step back from further escalation. Another possibility is that the conflict continues at its current level, with ongoing attacks and responses but no clear resolution. This kind of prolonged conflict can be just as damaging, as it keeps the region and the global economy in a constant state of instability. The most concerning possibility, however, is further escalation. If more countries become directly involved, the conflict could expand into something much larger. A situation where multiple global powers are engaged, creating a scenario that affects not just one region, but the entire world. This is the scenario that many experts worry about, even if they don't always say it openly. At this point, it's important to understand that the world has already been affected. Even if the conflict were to end tomorrow, the consequences would hear from you. Do you think this conflict will calm down, or do you believe it could grow into something much bigger? Share your thoughts, because in times like this, every perspective matters. And if you want more deep, clear explanations like this, make sure you stay connected. Because the next update on this situation could change everything.